yesterday we went through all these slides, and I think we stopped. I explained this yesterday, the slides, and the next one is the roles. Now, for these roles, we can deal with this one tomorrow because it's gonna involve a bit of setup. Now, this roles is got to do with the roles that will be performed by everyone. I mean, if I mean everyone, I'm talking of the implementation team, the roles which will be assigned to them, and also the roles that will be assigned to maybe super users or end users. Remember, super users and end users, especially if they are global. That means if the company operates in 20 countries, because of security, they will have, of course, they will have a lot of super user or local. And normally, I call them local HR, because the local HR we need to deal with each country HR processes. So uh, remember, if they have a company in Netherlands, they should not see the data in Germany. If somebody's in Germany, they should not see the data in UK, even though it's under a one umbrella company. Everyone have their own. Everyone we have their own responsibility or their own roles, which they need to perform, and they should not see each other data because of data protection. So that's what we have as data role. So everyone will have their own data individually for their own country, and they will not be able to see each other. So this will be this is actually got to do with security profile, which will be set up that will allow Germany not to see Netherlands or see UK or see America. So that's what we call it data role. For the job role, this job role, if you notice, I say this will be allocated to implementation team, consultants, implementation administrator, and implementation manager. So for this job role, they will be able to see everything because they are the one doing the implementation. They can see all data across. They can have one role that will see everything across. So that's why they call it job role, because and this is always temporary. What I mean is you're going to be there only to do the implementation. After the implementation, it's now up to the management to assign this job role to somebody within their team. So it's entirely up to them. So we have data role. So this is got to do given to local HR, so that they don't see each other, and this will be divided by the security profile, which I put here. We have abstract role. This abstract role is actually given to, I'm not sure some of you would have heard of employee self-service, manager self-service. It doesn't have to be Oracle. I think there's in your company, there's some few things. You might have an application which employee can go in, they can book a leave, they can sit on their mobile phone, they can do personal things. If I mean personal things, they can enter their personal details, they can enter their family details. So I don't know what you call it, but in Oracle, they call it employee self-service. So which employee can actually update their data, they can correct some data. So if it's confidential, a local HR will do that. But if it's something that is not confidential, employee can do that. So we normally call it employee self-service in EBS. But in Fusion, they just call it me, which is ME. So me means it's more like employee self-service. I can do my update. I'll show you how it looks like. And also, if you notice here, I put line manager. There's also some few responsibilities or roles which will be assigned to the line manager. Line manager to be able to approve bookings, which is leave, to be able to, they can actually see some data regarding their employee. They will know if the employees are around or not. So that's this one, they call it team. So this is me, this is team. So because it's a team leader, they call it team. Me, for the employee, they call it me. So that is got to do with myself, my details. Also, there's contingent as well, because contingent, remember, contingent, they're only there temporarily. So they also give them a kind of abstract role. To be honest, in most companies, they don't really take them as very, very, very important. They only deal with employees and very few contingents. So like I said yesterday, contingent is like an agency. So that's what it means. Contingent is somebody that will just be there temporarily, and also it could also be a contractor that will only be there for 6 months. So they're only there temporarily. So they also give them a kind of abstract role. There's something also which is called duty role. This duty role is will be assigned to specific set of people. For example, this data role will be assigned to local HR. This local HR can see everything within their country or within their operating system. For example, Netherlands or Germany or US, they can see everything within US, everything. Now, when it comes to duty role, there might be some people working alongside the local HR, but the local HR don't want them to see everything. So we have also have the duty role, or they call it aggregate privilege. This is meant to be for like just like a sample I mentioned. If there's a local HR in US, they can see every information about US, everything. But there might be some people working alongside a local HR in US. They don't want that person to do everything. They want them to do some specific tasks. So that's what they call it duty role. They just want to give them some, just like a sample, which I mentioned here, hire an employee. There's more to do in US, but this specific person will only hire an employee or add a pending worker. They will not be able to do something else more than this. So they call it duty role. But tomorrow, hopefully, I should be able to cover all this, and we can actually, I will do the not implementation, I will do the setup, and I will hand over to you guys to do various countries so that you can just see how it looks like. So if I go to the next one, this is where implementation starts. Now, I've got something called a organization structure. This is how Fusion HCM will look like. Now, in EBS, we have something called business group. Business group is always on top of a hierarchy. If a company operates in, let's say, 5 countries, they operate in 5 countries. So there's always, in those 5 countries, there is always an headquarter. So that means there's always a company that is more than the other ones. So let's say US is the headquarter, or let's say UK is the headquarter. So that UK or US will be called the top group, will be the business group. So they will be right on top. And the other ones will be a kind of division. So they will actually come underneath. So, but most of the time, when we do a business group, we always say, okay, for example, let's say Blue Sky Citadel, we can just say Blue Sky Citadel training group. It will be right on top. Then the other, so below, all the other 5 countries will come under Blue Sky Citadel group. So that's in EBS. Now, when it comes to Fusion, we don't use a business group anymore, but the concept has been changed. It's the same thing, but the concept has been changed, and also the name has been changed. Now in Fusion, we call it enterprise. So this enterprise will actually be right on top. So more like an hierarchy. So it's right on top, and the other divisions, legal entity, business group, department will fall underneath. So if you notice what I put here, so I actually divided this into 2. There is organization structure. So this is the enterprise. This enterprise, everything you're going to do about the company will fall under enterprise, and you can only set up one enterprise, not even 2 enterprise. When it comes to EBS, which is the old system, you can set up as much as a business group as you want. You can set up 20. In UK, you can set up a business group. So that's the way EBS works. It allows you to set up multiple business group. So, for example, if the company operates in 20 countries and they want to set up business group for 20 countries, yeah, so be it. They can do that. It allows you. But when it comes to Fusion, you can only do one enterprise, which is similar to business group. Only one. You cannot do even 2. It doesn't allow multiple. So one enterprise, which should stay right on top. After the enterprise, just like I mentioned, if the company operates in, let's say, 20 countries, then they will all be division. Now, this is not mandatory, but you can, it depends on the requirement of the company. They can say, yeah, we operate in 20 countries. Please could you set up 20 divisions? So this division in Fusion would be like the business group. So we can have multiple divisions, but only one enterprise. Multiple division, one enterprise. So then after the division, you have what is called legal entity. Now this legal entity is the same thing with legal employer. That's why I just put LE here. Now this legal employer would be, for example, when you get a new job, a company actually employs you. It doesn't matter if they operate in 20 countries. It doesn't matter if they operate in 50 countries. What that specific company actually employ you. Let's say they operate in UK, so they will be a legal entity. Even if they operate anywhere all over the world, they will be a legal entity. So that's why when you have a division, for example, if the company employs you, that they will also have a division, and they will be a legal entity. Now, this legal entity means a legal employer. They're the one that actually employs you. Now, this PSO means payroll statutory unit. That means they will need to pay you. So then a salary, they need to pay you some salary. So this is payroll. Now, this is LDG, which is certain legislative data group, something like that. Yeah. And this legislative data group means with that company, this is what I'm saying. When it comes to uh, data structure, you don't want information in US, because even though there's only one company operating in 50 countries, there's still a lot of legislation which would not allow data in UK to move to US, or for anybody in US to see any data in UK, so vice versa. So this is what they call legislation data group. So once you set this up, the information, and every single division we have their own LDG, and you will not be able to see each other's data. So that falls under legal entity. So we also have business units. This business unit is mandatory because this business unit work hand in hand with legal entity. So this is mandatory. This is mandatory. This division is not mandatory. Some company, they don't set up divisions at all, but it's good to have if it doesn't take time to set them up. So this is just the organization structure. Now we have workforce structure. Remember, workforce structure is job, location, grade, departments. Every company you have, even if they don't use Oracle, even if they have a kind of legacy system, there's always somebody. I mean, when they employ you, they want to employ you because there's a job available. So there's a job or there's a position available. So yeah, so there's always a job. Location, you need to be located somewhere. So every company will have a location. Grade, I mean, if it's a permanent job, there's always a grade, because they need to grade you so that they can pay you. So I don't know how some companies work, if they don't have a grade or not, but when it comes to Oracle, they will always have a grade. So this is great. And also department, so you need to work in a specific section or team, so that falls under department. So, and this business unit works hand in hand with this, with the job, location, grade, and department. So let me go to the next slide. And I think I'll put some a kind of structure here. I just put Blue Sky Citadel training group, and this is what I'm saying. It's an enterprise. So even if it's an enterprise, we can only have one enterprise. So division, I put US division, UK, Australia, China, Germany. So that means Blue Sky Citadel operate in these 5 countries. And if I put here, I said division, not mandatory. It is optional. This is not really necessary, but it's just good to have anyway. So, and after the division, we have what is called a legal entity. And I put some comments here. I said this legal entity is the actual company name. So that means if this Blue Sky Citadel operates in 20 countries, remember, it doesn't mean this Blue Sky Citadel have the same name. There's some company which is an acquisition, and they make sure the name retains. They don't always change it. Some company, they don't change the names. So if if the headquarters is called company A, if they buy company Z, they just leave company Z the way it is. it is. They don't name it company A again. They just leave the name the way it is. So that's why we call it actual company names. So some names they change it, and some names they don't change it at all. So you will know some examples of companies that match together, or maybe a merger and acquisition. So they just make the name remain the way it is. So here I just put legal entity, Blue Sky Satellite Training in US, UK, Australia, China, and Germany. And I've said here that it is a legal employer, so it actually is the one that actually hired. I mean, most of these few things which I'm mentioning, once we do some data entry today, you will come across them. So that's why I'm just want to throw it open to you, so that you will kind of get used to it. So this legal entity is a legal employer. They are the one that actually hired an employee. Division don't hire an employee. Even Blue Sky Satellite Training Group don't hire an employee. It's only the legal entity that hire an employee. So, and the same legal entity is also a payroll statutory unit, which process salary. And this is why I say payroll. They need to pay you. And also we have legislative data group. So this legislative data group, remember in each country, and this legislative data group is also got, apart from data structure, is also got to do with people's tax. I mean, country taxes. For example, every country have their own specific tax. In UK, we have NI, we have a PAYE, we have a lot of various taxes, which is not applicable in US. Every country have their own. So that's the reason why this legislative data group is very, very crucial. So that's why earlier as a legal entity is broken down into three. So which is legal employer, PSU, and LDG, which is Legislative Data Group. Let me just quickly jump into the other one. We have the business unit. Like I said, business unit is mandatory. So because this business unit is filled into workforce structure, which is the job, location, grade, and also the department. So it is very, very crucial, because all the job, grade, departments, and location, they will, when you're setting them up, it will always ask you what is the business unit. So it will always ask you what is the business unit. So yeah, so that's what we've got here. And I put here department as well. We all know department. Department is accounting, HR, communication. It could be anything. I just started this one here anyway. So let me quickly go to the next slide. On the next slides, we have, I just put here, um, employment model. So, because when you're doing data entry, you will see some entries which is got, it will, I mean, when you're hiring an employee, you put their personal data. So in their NI, their name, a lot of personal information, you add it into the system. And when it comes to assignment will be, where are they going to work? What are the information of where they will be working? So all those information. Now, when it comes to personal details, employee will give that to you. When it comes to assignment, which is where they're going to be working, you will need to place them. So those information will be you. I mean, employee doesn't know where he's going to work. He doesn't know you might not even know the location. So you will need to add all those information. So this is why I say employment model. In Fusion, now in EBS, which is the old system, we have a two-tier system, which is called personal information, assignment information. That's all, just those two. In Fusion, we have work relationship, and we also have employment terms, and we also have assignments. That's what they call it, three-tier employment model. There's a bit of controversy where, because we used in Oracle, that you can see, depending on how you structure, how you want to structure the company, it could be a three-tier employment model, or two-tier. Two-tier is very common, which is work relationship and assignment, because that's pretty straightforward. Because when it comes to employment terms and assignment, they're almost the same. So a lot of employers get confused. So they rather go by the old system, which is personal information and also the assignment. But when we go into the system, I will show you how it looks like. So, but just put this in mind: two-tier employment model or three-tier employment model. So I will go to, so this is the same thing again. So this is 3 tier work relationship. And I said this work relationship is got to do with the information which you will put there is the legal employer. And like this is why I say the legal employer or legal entity is very crucial. Worker, not worker type. So are they employee? Are they contingent, which is an agency? Are they contractors? Are they pending? It depends on whatever the worker type could be. What is the RD? There's so many information, so but I will show you anyway. So the employment terms, under the employment terms, we have the business unit, contract. So these are the information which we have. And if you notice, most of the information here, they're also here. So a lot of companies, they try to get away from this because they just think, hold on, we're used to the old system anyway. Why don't we go for work relationship, which has got to do with personal information and all the employer legal entity, date, all those personal information, and the assignment instead of going with the employment terms. So, but I will show you how it looks like when we go to the next slide. Yeah, so when you're setting it up in Oracle, this is what you do. But we're not going to go through configuration now. So, but when you want to go for 2-tier, multiple assignment, or 3-tier, this is where you add it. But we can go through that later. So yeah, I think that these are all the slides which I've got. Now, yesterday we went to the Fusion ACM overview, which is day one. Today, what we want to do is to go through the Fusion called the HR data entry. And I said students to set up data entry, but this is going to be more practical instead of me just doing a lot of explaining. Then after some time, you might probably not understand what I actually mentioned. So it's better for you guys to kind of to be hands-on while we're doing the demo. So today I'm just going to be going through this. So initially I was hoping to start the configuration, but it will be good for the sake of people who don't want to go straight into configuration so that we can all do data entry together. Data entry is very good, and at least it makes you to understand the front end. Once you understand the front end, to do the back end will be very easy. I mean, when I started as well, when I started 15 years ago or more than 15 years ago, this is the way I learned. I learned the front end. I understand it to the depth, and I say, you know what, all this information which I'm doing, where they coming from. So, and I started digging out to or investigate out where they're coming from, and that's where I started learning how to do implementation, because it's very good for you to know the front end and the back end. Some people, they go straight to the back end and front end later. It depends on how you want to do it. But I think for the sake of training, let's go to the front end. Now, the front end is just the HR data entry. I put here, I said, an employee. I mean, we all know the cycle of creating of an employee being on the system. There's, like I said yesterday, there's always a lot of there's something called Oracle Recruitment Cloud. Oracle Recruitment Cloud, I think, came into existence maybe less than a year ago, if I can remember on top of my head. But before then, the Oracle has been using Talio. Talio is a third-party system. So Talio, when there's always a kind of they advertise a job on the Talio, and there's a website. It goes into various, just like you go into JobServe looking for a job. So the company advertise, it goes into JobServe, people apply, they click, and it goes to the agency. Then the agency put it in the company's website that, yeah, Tunde is interested in this role. I'm talking about Talio now. So once they put in the Talio, then the company called me and said, Tunde, we understand, we can see your CV. Can you come for an interview? Maybe first stage of interview, second stage of interview, third stage of interview. So when they like me, they're happy with me, and now they accept me. They put the I'm just trying to remember Italian now. It's been a long time which I did it. So they now send a letter of acceptance to me, and I will say, yeah, I'm happy with it. So the moment they see my letter saying, yeah, I'm happy with it, remember, all this will be online. There's nothing like physical letter. They will all be online. The moment I say, yeah, I'm happy with this role, then they start onboarding me. So when they start onboarding me, then the onboarding will include the yeah, Tunde is going to start at so days. This is the laptop is going to get. These are the everything about the company that it needs. Also the medical. There's so many information. Also the training. There's going to be training which I need to do maybe before I joined or maybe when I joined. So that all this information will be onboarded. And why it's onboarded from Talio, there's a concurrent program that will automatically push it into Oracle. Once you put it into Oracle and it says pending worker, when it says pending worker, because I have not started yet, it takes me as a pending worker because I may not come. So I'll be a pending worker. So once the moment I join, let's say I start on Monday, the local HR will go into the system and they will change the pending worker to they will convert me to an employee. So that's from pending worker to an employee. Unfortunately, I don't have Talio, so I cannot demo Talio. I don't know. I mean, we don't have this. Like I said, it's a third-party system. But we now have Oracle. Oracle. We now have Oracle Recruitment Cloud. So Oracle Recruitment Cloud is a complete model. So another model which we cannot cover here, but I'm just trying to explain how it works. So there's different scenarios. So in other words, so from being an applicant or candidates to a pending worker, from pending worker to be an employee. So once they hire me, then they do a lot of processes to put me on the system. Then maybe after 3 or 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, then I can say, you know what, I've had enough, I want to leave. Then they would terminate my record. They will do a termination. So basically, Oracle's got to do with right from onboarding to hiring me as an employee, processing my details in the system so I can get paid, I can get my pension, I can get my annual leave up to the time I retire or up to the time they terminate me because I've had enough of them. So yeah, so that's the way it works. I'm just giving a kind of general scenario. So that's why you can see I said I an employee. I a CWK. This is a contingent. This is more like an agency. Adding a pending worker. Now, the adding a pending worker, this is the scenario which I mentioned. That means somebody coming from Talio into the system, but you can actually do it manually instead of coming from Talio. You can, for example, if somebody's going to start next week, they're pending worker, they're not employee because they can change their mind. So they will be a pending worker. So pending worker is like somebody's going to start in the future. Future could be tomorrow. Future could be next week. But every company have their own rules. For example, you don't want to put somebody on a system who's going to start next 2 months. That's ridiculous. They can, so, for example, some of the places I work, the maximum number will be a week. So they put you on the system as a pending worker, and they will watch you for a week to make sure you're coming or not. If you don't come, they quickly terminate. Get rid of the pending worker. So, but a week is the maximum for some companies. Why some companies will not even use a pending worker at all. They will only put you on the system when you joined. The day you joined, they know, yeah, you have started, they put you quickly on the system. So every policies or every requirement differ. So that, like I said, add a pending worker, convert a pending worker to a worker. So a pending worker to a worker means to an employee. To an employee. So it's the same thing anyway. So add work relationship, terminate work. So add work relationship, which is what I mentioned. So that means every information about which you want to add for the employee. Terminate work relationship. That means once the employee says, you know what, I'm leaving, or they retire, or depending on how long they've been with the company. So here I just put manage employee. Once you hire an employee, you give them the work relationship. They've been with the company for maybe 1 or 2 years. Manage employee means you just want to promote them. You want to do a lot of things on their system, because once you employ somebody, it doesn't mean that's it. Every single time you go in, you can change their manager, you can change their location, you can change a lot of things. You can update, you can correct, you can add their contact, which is their beneficiary. So this is what they mean by manage a person. So there's also this is manage personal information. We also have manage employment. So that means that you can change their job, you can change their position, you can change their location, you can change a lot of things about their employments, you can change their payroll, you can change the salary. So that's what they mean by employment. So add assignments. So we have all this information. So don't let me bore you with all this. So if you notice, the first one is hire an employee, and the last one is the last one is terminate an employee, and the employee can come back again, rehire the employee. I mean, some of you who are in HR, you would have come across most of this information. So that's what we're gonna do today. Okay, so I'm gonna go into Oracle to start so that we can do a kind of data entry. But for your purpose, today I tried to do a kind of user guide, because instead of me explaining everything, I'm gonna do mine just to do my own demo. So, but for your sake, I did, I think 17 pages, which will be sent to you. So this is the kind of slides which I did today. So I wish you guys can actually have a look, and it will guide you. And what I put here, I said, create a new hire, which is an employee for the future, create a new hire for the present. It could be today's date. So, and remember, this new hire could be an employee. It could also be an agency, which is a contingent. It's the same concept. So you can actually use it, use the same thing. And when you want to do that, so I put here, this is what, so create a new hire for the future. I put a screenshot of what you're going to do, and I put a bit of a statement on each one of them, how it looks like, what you're going to do. And if you see this, that means you can, this is the information you need. Now, they're not, most of them are not mandatory. If you notice, let me go to, if I go, because I know it's very small. Okay, I think it's a little bit big now. So if you notice, you can see some asterisk here. That means it's mandatory. You can see last name is mandatory, first name is mandatory. Title is not mandatory. Middle name, preferred name, last previous, they are not mandatory. It's entirely up to you to add it. But just for a practice purpose, try to complete it. But if you don't want to do it, it doesn't make any difference. So anything that marked like this, please just add some information there. If you don't want, it's not, that means it's not mandatory. But anything you see an asterisk, make sure it is you add some information. So there's so much there here which I will kind of demo, then you guys can go through the screenshot later. So the moment you log in, this is what you're gonna see. Remember, I mentioned earlier, I said means self-service, employee self-service. So this is everything that an employee can do. Personal information, they can update. Time and absences, that means they can update. Career and performance, learning, they can do a bit of onboarding. I will check this. Even pay, there's so much they can do. Now, this is a test environment. This is a test from, an environment or an instance from Oracle. That's why you can see everything. When it comes to your company, they might not allow you to see the directory, the connection. They might take all this away. So you might just see very few. I've seen that many times. So they would take some few things which they don't want you to update yourself. So this is employee self-service. Now, when it comes to team, let me see if there's a team here, because I'm not a manager. So my team, okay, I don't have my team here. Okay, so like I told you, let me see if there's my team somewhere here. Oh, this is me, my team. Let me see if there's my team. Oh, this one says my enterprise. I think it might be here. No, sorry. It's my team. My team means manager self-service. So I don't have it because I'm not a manager. So if I've got one, or if I can add it for you guys so that you guys can see how it looks like. So my team is for managers. Me is for employee self-service, which is my employee can actually go into the system and do whatever they want. Now, if you notice this, every information here, let me just go. Let me start from the beginning. When you in your place of work, sales, services, all this doesn't make sense to you because they're not, most of them are not HR related. This is just a kind of Oracle, so they combine everything there. So when it comes to you of your company, when you want to set up for your company, you don't need sales, services, just ignore that. So you will need me, you will need my clients group, So let me see what else you will need. All this information, you don't need them. This, some of them, can you see? Some of them are financial. You don't need them. So now you will need tools. You're gonna need configuration. Let me see what else. And maybe others as well. So, but the main thing which you actually need for remember, we're not actually doing implementation today. We just want to start going into kind of doing an HR data. Go to my client group. Now, every information here is called Springboard. They call it Springboard. So that's the name which they actually use. But for your company, you can call it anything you want. But from Oracle, they call it Springboard. So anytime you go into the system, always go to my client group. If you notice my client group, you can see, let me go below here. You can see pending workers, add a contingent, which is an agency, add a pending worker, add a non-worker. This non-worker, I believe, is got to do with contractors. A lot of people don't even use it, even though some companies just leave it there, but they actually use it. They hardly use it, sorry. So I an employee, so this is very important. So if you notice, they actually make an asterisk that says this will be very good for the company. Most of the places I work with, they always have this four: contingent, pending worker, non-worker, and hire an employee. If you notice all these ones, they're a little bit irrelevant, so you might probably not need most of them. So I'm talking of promote, transfer. Now they are also relevant, but you might not most of the time they don't always put them here. They hide them somewhere because some of them they can hide it under more, show more, so they can add it somewhere here. So, but I think because this is Oracle, they just give everything to us. So let me say show less. Okay, so this is what you need to be able to create a new employee. So let's try to create an employee. Like I said, there is two ways to create an employee. You can actually go to new person, or you can go to hire a new employee. When it comes to adding a pending worker, somebody's going to start, let's say, tomorrow. So that's pending worker today. But even though they're going to start tomorrow, you can use hire an employee. When somebody is starting today, you can use new person. Now, if you notice this, there is add contingent, pending worker, add non-worker, and add employee. All these, most of these are actually if somebody is going to start in the future. That's what this means. If I go to new person, you're going to see the same thing. Oh, yeah. Can you see the same thing is here as well? So it's the same thing. So, but this one will take you direct into the system to be able to hire the employee. But when it comes to, normally when if I want to go back, instead of me going back, I can just click on home. You can either click on home or go back. So normally I always click on home. So it takes me back here. So like I said, if I click on new hire, so for example, let me go to new hire here. I will just show you how it looks like. So if I click on new hire, it takes me direct into the system. Direct into the system. But the other one, because direct into the system means this guy is going to start, let's say, today. That's why it's got today's date. If I go back, let me go out. Let me do a cancel. I'm not doing anything. So if I click on new hire here, you see that the screen is completely different. It takes me here. So it asks, I mean, the same information on that one is the same information here. But so basically, this one says, okay, if you want to hire an employee in the future, so that's what you can actually do that here. But for the sake of today, what we're gonna do, let me just, oh sorry, oh God, this is what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to do back button. Aha. It's kicked me out already. Okay, let me log back in. I'm trying not to do back button. Now I've done a back button. So this is where I am. So basically, if I go to new hire, which is what we're going to quickly do now, because I know the time is fast spent now. So once you create a new hire, you need to complete all this information. But instead of me doing a new hire here, I will use this. So let me go out of here. So please try as much as possible not to click on this arrow back or arrow front. It doesn't like it. So I will just say add a pending worker. Remember, I said there might be some pending worker that are coming from Talio, they're coming from a third-party system into your system. So they will always come here. So we can just say add a pending worker. So let's quickly do that. So it's the same thing. We can you see the same thing with add a new employee. So let's say add a new employee, sorry, add a pending worker. So we need the information. So on this page, what you need to do is to click on the information which you will want. Remember, when a new employee is coming, they're about to come or they are around, you always collect their names or all these personal information details and also the assignment details where they will be working. Now, the assignment details where they're going to be working, that's up to you. You will know where they need to work. So I would just say communication information, the address, employer has given me an address, legislative information. This has got to do with I think their marital and some other personal information, passport, and I'm not going to click on most of this because of our time. Citizenship is entirely up to you. You can click on each one of them so that you can see how it looks like and you can complete the information. But for the sake of our training, I'm just going to exclude the passports, citizenship, and driver's licenses. Also, visa, I don't need that one. Family information, I don't need to put that one in for now. Manager, I don't need to put the manager in for now. But you guys can actually do it. It's entirely up to you. So, work relationship, let me click on work relationship. Now, payroll is important, but I'm not going to bother with payroll for now. Salary, I'm not going to bother with salary. Compensation and comments, we don't need that for now. So, actually, I can click on comments. So, so once you click that, like remember, I've ignored a lot of things, mainly because of what we're doing today, and just so that we don't take too much time. So actually, you know what? Let me click on each one of them so that you can see how it looks like, but I don't need to complete them. So let me click on everything. So payroll, I don't want to click on payroll because it's going to be asking me for more information. Let me leave these two for now because we've not created our own legal entity. So once you do that, just say continue. So once you go on to continue, remember it says the first information is when is the pending worker starting? It mentioned today's date, but let's presume it's going to start tomorrow. But or let's just leave it as 15th, which is today's date. That's okay. So legal employer for our system, we have not created a legal employer, so we can add. We can take a legal employer, which Oracle has actually created set up on the system. This is one of them. So this is UK. So I can actually use this. Now, there's some legal employers which I've sent, which the coordinator will send to you guys. If you notice, there's a lot of legal employer here. My advice is use this legal employer. Don't use any dummy which you see because this system is used by thousands and thousands of people globally. So everybody add rubbish information into the system, or maybe they set up some things, it's still incomplete. If you use it, you're going to be hanging. So it's better for you to use what Oracle has actually started. So most of this, which I put here, is actually from Oracle. So I'll send it to you already. I mean, the coordinator will send it to you. So this is one of it, which is what I pick up. Finance Services UK legal entity. So now it says proposed worker. It says if you see some options here, it says this employee, is it a contingent or would it be an employee? Yes, it's going to be an employee. So just select employee. So it says add a pending worker. It says what's the way to add a pending worker? Just leave it as pending worker because he is a pending worker. So it says why are you adding a pending worker? So there's some information. So just this is one of the main. You can add more information here, but I will show you where to add it. But for now, we can just select whatever is here. So once you do this, just say continue. So once you say continue, the next information is personal information. So normally for the last name, I would just put Smith underscore. I would just say Tunde one. For my last first name as well, I'll put the same thing. So select a value. So this is where you get Mr., Mrs. So I'll just say Mr. Now this is where I'm saying middle name, preferred name. These are not mandatory. if you want, you can just add something there. So preferred name, for example, in place of work, some people call Michael. They don't like you calling them Michael. They like you to call them Mike. So I can just put Mike, call me Mike, something like that. So people's preferred name, which they will like in the office. That's what that means. So now it says gender. They're not mandatory. So gender, male. Date of birth, I can just put anything I want. Now in UK, I think we're used to, I'm not sure, 01 January. I can just put 19, let's say 91. This is the format which we're used to. But for Oracle Cloud, it doesn't like this. What it wants is 1, let's say January, and let's say 91. To be honest, I find this a little bit ridiculous, but that's what Oracle Fusion likes. So we just have to go by it. So yeah, so we can just go by that date. So it says national ID. If I want, you can just click on United Kingdom here. So well, actually it's United Kingdom there. And you can just say add if I want to add it. If I want to add the national identifier. We all have NI, or the employee which you're going to hire, we have an NI. Oh, so you need to finish. What do I need to finish? National ID. Okay, yeah, so national ID. Okay, yeah. So it says national ID. If I want to put, I'm not sure if it's validated. Let me just put PE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. Then B. If there's a validation, it will not allow me to proceed. But I don't think this will actually do a validation. So that's fine. Let me say continue. If it errors, though, that means there's a validation. If it continues, aha, can you see? It doesn't like it. So there is a validation. So let me put W. Aha. So there is a validation on the N9. So if some of you just want to know if you can use your number, so your N9 number, I just change the last alphabet, alphabet, which is, if it's E, just put D. So you don't necessarily need to use your own number anyway. So I just try to change mine now, so and it allows it because I know somebody would be after me. So that'll be fine. So then the next one will be phone. So it's entirely up to you if you want to add the phone number. So let me just, nothing is mandatory. I'll just say continue. Address is not mandatory. I can just click continue. Now, legislative information, none of them is mandatory. So it's got all this information, which is married, are they married, ethnicity, religion, N9 number, verified, sexual orientation, gender identity. None of them is mandatory, so I'm just going to ignore them. But for your own purpose, you can just go through them and just add some information. When you want to add an information, always do this. I mean, let me just put it this way. It says marital status. Oh, there's a small arrow here. Just click it, and it will give you all the information which you want. So let's say married, ethnicity. Click on this arrow here, and you can pick up anything you want. So now if there's no arrow, for example, partner's last surname, so that one you can just do whatever you want. Partner's last name, you can just do whatever you want. So partner's national insurance, there's no validation here. If you notice, there's no validation, so you can add anything you want. So yeah, so sexual orientation, I'm not even sure what is on this one. So yeah, so any from just say order. It doesn't matter. I mean, this is just a testing purpose. So once you complete that fields, you can just click on continue. So it takes me to passport, which I don't need. So if you want, you can just go to the issuing passport. It gives a lot of list of value of how you can enter some information. So I will just say continue. Actually, if I go back to passport, let me just quickly show you this. So in case when you're in here, it says the issuing country. When you click here, you might not see UK immediately, or you might see, let me see. If you go down, there might be UK somewhere here. Okay, United Kingdom. So just pick up United Kingdom. So there's always a lot of list of values, so make sure you pick it up. So I just pick up and it says it's mandatory, even though it wasn't mandatory before. Now it's telling me it's mandatory, but I don't need to complete all this, so I can just move on to the next one. Now, citizenship information, I don't need to do this, so I can just move to the next, just say continue. Driver's license, I don't need to do anything here. Let's see the same thing again. Issuing country, you can just click here and just pick up United Kingdom. If it's America, you just pick up United States. So I can click on continue again. Visa and permits, I can click on continue. I don't need it. Family emergency, I can click on I don't need this. So this is where I can add my family, my spouse, who are going to be my beneficiary. So you can add the information there. Now this is where the employment details, this has got nothing to do with the employee, but the local HR will need to complete this. This is not the information you collect from the local HR, from the employee. Now I think because I've done this before, so I can just say, yeah, who's going to be my business unit. I can just pick up this thing. Remember, this is similar to the legal employer which I selected, and I'll quickly show you. So I think it's somewhere. So it's on this spreadsheet. Remember, so the same legal. This is the business unit. This is the legal entity. So that's the reason why I make sure, just to make it easy for you in case you start looking for what you need. So you can just actually use this spreadsheet for whatever you need. So out of this information, what do I need? Okay, so synchronization of position. So for automatic conversion, so these are just default to no, and the other one default to yes. So business title, within the business title. If I need a grade, I can just go to grade. I can select that. For example, if you don't want to pick up admin, I think if you put let me just see, let me go out of here. So well, I think it depends on the grade that is linked to that. It doesn't actually allow me to. Let me do something. Let me just put, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. So it allows me to select as many grades as possible. So I can select any grade I want, but for the purpose of our testing, so this is what I've done. So initially it gives me, so let me go out of it. It gives me one grade. Because if I go to A, it gives me only one grade. But normally if you do A, or if you, so it should come out with something. Okay, there's nothing for B. Let me try C. Okay, there's some C. So you can, these are part of grades. So you can select anything you want, which is linked to that legal employer. Because a lot of things which we're going to be doing, we need to be linked to the business units and the legal employer. So for the purpose of our testing, I'll just pick up the first one. It says department. I just say accounting department. So it could be anything. If I just put A there, it should give me more. Oh, no, it doesn't give me more. Let me see. Let me see if it allows me to select more. Okay, it doesn't. So let me put B and see. Yeah, so there's more departments. If I put C, there should be more departments as well. But I will just go for the first one. So I'll just pick up A, accounting UK. Now it gives me this location. I don't know why I always default to this location, but this is a wrong location. So I'm just going to pick up this location. So which is what I've picked up before. So assignment category. Every single information I put here, I've already put it in the user guide so that you can select what I actually selected. So instead of you looking for it, you can actually select what I've done. So assignment category. Now here this is where you get this employee which I'm employing. Is it going to be full-time, or is it going to be a part-time, or is it going to be part-time casual? Normally somebody start for the first time, they're always full-time regular. So how many hours are they going to be working? They're going to be working 40 hours per week, so which is 8 hours per day. So yeah, so it automatically defaults to 40 hours. Now this automatically defaults to 40 hours because of the initial setup. The initial setup says everyone should work 40 hours. You can actually override it here if you want to. You can say 45. You can say 50 hours. So you can actually override it, but let's leave it to 40. So once you've done that, just say continue. Okay, so once you do continue, it goes to the manager. We don't need a manager at this point, so we can just leave it. Just say manager, just move on. Just say continue. Worker relationship, continue on this one again. We don't need it for now. And the same thing with comments. Comments, we don't need it, but we can just put something there. I'll just say testing. So this is the last one. So once you've done that, so what you need to do is to, I think my name, I've just put Smith Tunde 1. Okay, so I'll just go to submit. Yeah, so once you've submitted, it takes you back automatically to the first page, which you remember, this is where you click add a new pending worker. Remember, this guy is a pending worker, it's not a worker yet. So you need to go to so that if now, let's presume it's starting tomorrow. Let's say starting tomorrow, or let's say starting today. Even though you actually employed him today, but it's a pending worker. I just use today's date anyway. So let's presume it's starting today. Today you need to convert him to an employee. So what you need to do, you've already done a pending worker. You go to pending worker here. So can you see it's there already? So this is the name. So what you need to do, and this is the employee number. So let's note this. So this is the employee number automatically. So once you do this, you just click on this, you enable this, and these three dots, just click, and it gives you convert, quick convert, edit. So in case I want to edit what I've done before, you know where most of the information which I enter for this pending worker. If I want to edit, then I do this. If I want to cancel work relationship, you don't need all this anyway. So if you want to edit, then you edit. If you want to cancel everything, you can actually use this to cancel everything anyway. But what we need to do, just click on either convert or quick convert. I always use quick convert. So just click on convert. So remember this. I will just want to make sure I remember this employee number. So let me put it somewhere here. So then I go to quick convert. So this system is very slow today. I will try as much as possible to round up quickly because I want as much people to do a lot of data entry today. So, okay, so it's done it. So can you see it disappears? Now, once it disappears, you go back to, normally I always use home. I go back to home. Then I'll need to check if the employee has been converted. Then I'll go to person management. Then this is where you do a lot of maintenance for employee. Because I've got the employee number, so I'll just put the employee number here. Then this is today's date. So once you put the employee number here, you go to search. Now, if you notice, it gives me two. It's only one. I mean, there's one, but it says pending worker. Remember, he's a pending worker today. It's an employee today because I converted him today. That's why you can see two. Tomorrow, when you check this guy on the 16th, you will only see employee. But today is a pending worker because I just created him, and the same day is an employee. But even if you want to make any updates on anything, you only go to employee, not a pending worker anymore. So, but by tomorrow, this pending worker will disappear because it's got to do with the 15th. Once you put tomorrow 16th, only one will come up, which will be an employee. So every information which I added, so if for you to be able to see everything we've done for this employee, you click on this link. on the name, and you can see all the information. This is all the information which I've entered for this employee. Now, if I need to make any, because the fact that you did put every information in the pending screen does not mean you cannot come here and do any updates. If I want to make any updates or correction, I can just come here, edit, do correction. Just say correction. It says higher, just click on OK. And we can make any correction. Can you see? Everything is opened again. I can make any correction I want, anything I can do for this employee. And this is where you do a lot of management. For example, if this employee has been here for 3-4 years and you want to make any changes on their screen, you can either do a correction or updates. Normally, you always do updates anyway if you need to make an update towards their system. So, but I'm not doing anything for this employee. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to do cancel. The reason is we've only done a pending worker, so I want us to do an employee direct instead of using a pending worker system. So I'll just quickly do that. Then now we can you guys can start practicing. Okay, so I'm not doing any changes. So say no. Oh, sorry, just say yes. Okay, so I will just do a close. Okay, it takes me back here, so I'm gonna go back here again. Okay, so it takes me back to this screen. Remember, this is what I've done. I did add a pending worker, and I went to pending worker and convert them to an employee. But if you want to do adding an employee direct, you can either do it here or do it here, but I'd rather you do it here. So an employee, they're not pending worker, you're just hiring them direct. So go to new person. So it's either you do a contingent or you're not going to do pending worker because we've already done that. So an employee or a contingent, which is an agency. Let's hire an employee. So hire an employee. So if you notice, it takes me direct to the main screen. So it says, when do they want to start? Today's day. So what's the action? And hire. So what's the hire reason? So we can just click on the hire reason. It says, what is the legal employer? Remember, this is very, very crucial. So I can take one of the ones which are, because it's, let me say it's UK, I can just take Progress UK legal entity. Most of these are Oracle setups, so we can actually use them, so which is fine. So if you notice, it says worker number generated automatically. So the moment I save or submit what I'm doing at the moment, it will give me the employee number. So now let me go to the name. I'll just use, I was like using underscore. I can do the same name. Title. And remember, because I said I want to hire an employee, automatically it gives me an employee. If you say I want to hire a contingent worker, it's gonna come to the same screen and it will say contingent. So you can note that as well. But most of the time we always employ an employee anyway. But if it's a contingent, we can also employ a contingent as well. So middle name, I'm not gonna go through all day, so we don't need them. So if you want, you can actually add all this information, but I don't need them for now. So I will just go to next. So it takes me to the home address. Now, if you notice, though it says it's mandatory, but I can bypass it. So you can actually add a lot of home address. We all know UK code. You can just put any address you want. If you want, you can put a phone number for the employee. When you want to put a phone number, for example, when you come to somewhere like this, always add the plus. Once you click the plus, then you can add in the information. The same thing with the email address. Click the plus, it allows you to add the email address for the employee. And you add the legislative information. I'm not going to go through this now. So what I'm just going to do is click on next. Okay, so it takes me to this page. And on this page, this is the main employment page. So on this main employment page, if you notice, it says assignments. So this is what I was telling you earlier on, that we have two tier. Two tier is all the employee personal information, which is also called work relationship, and assignments. So once you see these assignments, so if you notice, there's no normally if there's three tier, you will see employment terms and assignments. But we don't have this is two tier. So this is work relationship, which is employee personal details, and assignment. So this assignment is what you will need to add for the employee. So we can just add the assignment. So it says assignment number. Let me just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, business unit, remember I told you business unit. This is going to be, so at pick up legal entity, which is progress. So this is business unit. I'm just going to pick up the business unit, link to that legal entity. So I'm just going to paste. Yeah. So if you notice, the assignment status automatically, so let me go back again. The assignment status automatically says active payroll eligible. Active payroll. If it's a contingent, it will not say active payroll. Employee is only is linked to active payroll. If it's a contingent like an agency, it will say something else. I think it might probably say active no payroll. That's what it will automatically say active no payroll. If you're creating an agency, that's what it does. Okay, so active payroll, so that's what it does. And position, we don't need position for now. Job, let me just pick up any job I want, if there's any. Let me just say, to be honest, I can just pick up a percentage and I just say search. If there's any job, yeah, I can pick up that one. Okay, every other information, I don't, because this is a demo, I don't want to go through every one of them one by one. But once you, like I said, what you can do, just go in. Now I think in the screenshots, a user guide which I sent to you, don't do grade ladder, just ignore it. You can add grade, you can add as much information as you want. You will see what I'll put on the user guide, what you need to do. So you can just do that. And automatically, if you notice, it says 40 hours weekly, because this is added to the enterprise. When you're setting up the enterprise, they would have put 40 hours. This can be override here if you want, but we don't want to override it, so we can just leave it. And if you notice, it says 40 hours and it says FTE is 1. FT is 1. Now, if somebody's working, let me put it this way. Let me just say somebody's working 35 hours. Let's see what that FTE, it could be automated. It can change. Can you see? It says 0.88. What that means is 30 divided by 40. So the standard working hours for the company is 40 hours, but this guy is going to be working 35 hours. So it's not entitled to 1 FTE. It's entitled to 0.88. So the same thing, if this guy is going to be working 20 hours, it should say 0.5. 0.5. So, but normally people don't start work with part-time. It's always full-time most of the time. So let me just put it back to 40 hours on a weekly basis. So FT is 1. So remember, it says head count. That means if there's 50,000 employees within the company, this is going to be 50,001. So there's another one which is added. So head count is very crucial as well. And most of these are always automated, so you don't need to do anything here. So it says start time 8:30 to 5:30 p.m. So let's just leave it that way. Then all this information, none of them is mandatory. So the next one, which is very important, but we don't need to do it today, will be payroll. So this is payroll. So payroll details, this is where you add the payroll. You go to create, sorry, no, not this one, sorry. I think it's the other one. Oh, God. Sorry. action. So add a new payroll. So this is where you add a new payroll. Actually, we can add a new payroll for this guy if there's one. So let me see if there's one payroll as a link to this. Oh, there's no payroll, so there might be progress. Let me check the legal entity. It says progress. So let me check. I'm not sure there's a payroll link to this. If not, we can just leave it. Oh, there's no payroll set up, so that's fine. So we can just leave it anyway. So I think some of the ones which I think some of the other legal entities have got a payroll. The moment you come here, you will see maybe one or two payrolls, but there's no payroll linked to this legal entity, so that's fine. So we can just ignore it. So once you're done with that information, just click on next. Uh-oh. Now it's telling me that I've got to put something there. Let me see if there is any payroll. Okay, search. Let me go here, percentage, and click on search. I'm not sure if there's if there might not be payroll. I'm thinking there might not be any payroll link to this at all. So yeah, there's no, I don't think there's any payroll, but the problem is it's forcing me to do, okay, actually, let me just do cancel and see if it can allow me to cancel it. Okay, let me see if I can proceed. So next, okay, I think it's going to allow me to proceed. Okay, so it allows me to proceed. Now I'm reckoning if there's no payroll, there might not be salary basis. Let me check if there's salary basis. Oh, actually there's salary. So let me click on this. Now salary basis means there's payroll, there's also salary. Payroll automatically means you group, let's say there is 10,000 employees in UK. You cannot have one payroll. There's going to be too much. You can divide it into 5, into 10, which is 1,000 per 1,000 for every 10,000 employees. So you can group them by payroll. The reason is it will be easy for you to maintain. So that's the reason why you have the payroll. Now, when it comes to salary basis is always it will constitute like the salary which you actually want to pay that employee. It could be a salary range, let's say from 50K to 60K. So this employee could be in between. So that's why you always set up a kind of salary basis. So let me just put, because I'm not sure the salary range for this employee, let me just put 40K. So yeah, so there's no salary range. Normally, if there's a salary range, it would have put it somewhere here. So 40K, so that's fine. Then we can proceed. Other compensation, we don't need it. Then we're almost done. Then just click on next. So once you click on next, it takes you to the review page. Once you're happy with what you're seeing, you can see here, I'm happy with it, even though we didn't complete every single information. The next thing you need to do is to say submit. So then the name is Smith Tunde 2. So I can just click submit. So it takes you here, it says request, just say yes. Okay, and you just press OK for the confirmation. So now for me to check that employee, I just go to home again, and I go to person management, and I can, because I don't know the employee name, so I can, so the employee number, I can just put Smith. Actually, I can put some there, percentage, and so it should give me 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, so these are the ones I've done. Okay, so this is 2. So this is the one I've done. So I can just click on, so that's the number 4757. So I can go back in and make any changes I want, whatever. So this is what, I mean, what I demo today is what I actually put on the user guide. So now I'm almost done because I think we have 40 more minutes. So if you can just log in, but I